Good morning, Greenridge. I hope you're all getting on okay. Hope you had a lovely weekend. Perhaps you were playing out in a little bit of a snow. Hope you were being careful, folks. It can be quite slippy and icy there. I certainly found that of a weekend. We've still got a little bit of snow today as well, so maybe some of you might be able to be out in perhaps your daily exercise today, experiencing some of that cold weather, but make sure you're wrapping up warm and staying safe. Okay, right. We've got our whole school assembly today. And our whole school assembly today is going to explore perhaps some of the different values that we were looking at in our previous week's assemblies, maybe going into them a little bit deeper and asking some big questions. So bear with me just for a moment. I'm just going to share the screen and bring up our slides for today's assembly. Right, hope you can all see that a-okay. Okay, right, so time for a little bit of reflection, a bit of thinking back. We had an assembly last week, and in last week's assembly, we told a little bit of a story. Perhaps that picture at the bottom there can remind you of what that story was. If you've got a really good memory and you can remember what that story is, perhaps you can also remember what the value for this half term is. Have a bit of a think, and if you got it in your head, maybe tell someone in the room, perhaps note it down on a piece of paper. What is our value for this half term? Well, our value for this half term is forgiveness. And perhaps some of you got that really, really quickly. Perhaps not, but don't worry if you didn't. Okay, and we've got our picture of a little wasp down there. And maybe you can remember the story that we had last week. Because last week we were not just looking at forgiveness, but we were also looking at unforgiveness. When people perhaps have that opportunity to forgive someone and perhaps actually make things better, but they choose not to. And sometimes that can actually make things worse for both people. But before we go any more into forgiveness, I just wanted us to think about another very, very special word. And again, it's a word that begins with F. And that word is, see if my slides work. Friendship. Here we go. So I'm going to read you another story again today. And this story, okay, it's going to have some elements with forgiveness in, but it's also going to have some elements about friendship. Friendship, that's a very, very, very special thing, isn't it? A good friendship is going to need lots and lots of special ingredients, isn't it? It's going to, actually, I can't give you the answers, not straight away. So maybe for a moment, I've got a few questions for you. Maybe you could write them down or have a conversation with someone in the room about this. What makes a good friend? What qualities does a good friend have? If you think that you are a good friend, perhaps think about maybe some of the things that you do that make you a good friend. Maybe take a moment to note some of those things down. Okay, we'll come back together. If you need more time, do pause the video. Now, I would say qualities that make a good friend, it's someone who's perhaps kind, someone who, if you say fell over in the playground, they pick you up and they make you feel a little bit better and they get you back involved in the game. A friend might also be someone who lets you join in, someone who's inclusive, someone who doesn't stop you from doing the things that you feel like you need or that you want to do. But also, I suppose a good friend can also be someone who can help you think about things in a different way sometimes. Perhaps if you're about to make a really, really bad decision, they could be the person who says, hey, hold up, actually, that's maybe not the best thing to do here. But my next kind of question to you is, do friends ever fall out? Friends are sometimes the people that you can actually be the closest with. But do they ever have any kind of issues? Do they ever have any problems that mean that perhaps they fall out? Well, I've got a bit of a story that might explore that a little bit more. Okay, get yourself comfy. I'm going to do a bit of reading for you. And if you'd like to, you can close your eyes and you can perhaps imagine this story. But as we're reading through it, maybe think about those values and those qualities that they may have as friends, these two characters, Omar and Freddie. But also perhaps maybe think about that whole school value that we're looking at the moment of forgiveness. Hope you're comfy. Omar loved to play with his friend Freddie. They enjoyed one another's company and had lots of fun playing football and doing other things together too. One day they were playing in the garden with Freddie's model aeroplane. Omar asked if he could have a bit of a turn, and Freddie readily agreed. The plane flew high into the sky with Omar at the controls. It looped the loop and flew upside down. Omar was really enjoying himself. But suddenly, the engine started coughing and spluttering. The plane broke into a spin and hurled towards the ground. It plummeted to earth, smashing the nose and a wing as it did so. Oh no. Have you ever been in a situation like this? Maybe you've let a friend borrow something that's yours, something that you really care about. Could be a toy, could even be stationery. And has something happened to it? Has it broken? Perhaps by accident, perhaps by another way. How did you feel at that point? How do you think that Omar and Freddie feel about one another at this moment? Let's see. Freddie picked up the pieces. He was furious. It's all your fault, he said. I never want to play with you again. Omar was very upset. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't do it on purpose. I don't know what happened. Then Freddie saw Omar's football on the lawn. He ran over to it and kicked it high over the garden fence. The ball bounced into the path of a passing lorry. Omar went out into the road to find his favorite ball had been flattened. Look what you've done, he said. That was your fault. Go away. I never want to be your friend again. Now, Freddie was sad. He knew that he had done wrong, but he was very angry that his aeroplane had been damaged. So as we asked before, what kind of feelings are they having at the moment? Well, Freddie's now got quite a few. He's sad. He's still angry. Omar is probably feeling pretty sad as well, because something that was really special to him is now broken. And is there any difference here between Omar and Freddie? When Omar was playing with Freddie's plane, did he mean to perhaps break that plane? What about when Freddie kicked Omar's football? Did he mean to do that? I think at this point, there was probably a decision that could have been made by one of those children. And that decision could have possibly made the situation a little bit better, because now you have quite a few people who are really upset. Several days went by and the boys made no attempt to see one another. Freddie's dad mended his aeroplane and Omar's dad bought him a new football. But both boys were not happy at all and began to miss one another's company. Omar sat down on the bench in his garden and felt really lonely. He was sad that he had ruined Freddie's aeroplane, but equally sad that Freddie would not forgive him. And somehow Omar still could not forgive Freddie for kicking his ball into the road. And at this point, I think we have two friends and a situation that could be resolved with that value of forgiveness. Have you ever been in a situation like this? Perhaps you've had a falling out with a friend and you're waiting for the other person to say sorry or to say, I forgive you. Sometimes actually the boldest step can be the first person to actually do that. Omar's dad saw how upset he was. He knew what had happened. You know, you'd be much happier if you forgave one another and were friends again, he said. Omar realized how much he wanted to be friends again with Freddie. I'll go and see him, he said to his dad. He waved goodbye and was just about to open the garden gate when Freddie appeared. Omar was so pleased to see his friend. I forgive you for crashing my airplane, said Freddie. And please forgive me for kicking your ball into the path of that lorry, he added. The boys realized that their friendship was more important than the aeroplane or the football. They both shook hands, and now they were happy again and back being best of friends. A happy ending to what started as quite a bit of a sad story. So now I want you to have a bit of a time to reflection. Omar and Freddie, they're really good friends, but they still have times when they fall out with each other, and that's normal. There's lots and lots of times when I've even fallen out with my friends, perhaps. And I bet you can think of a time, perhaps, when you have fallen out with one of your friends. And as we had in the story, they went quite a few days with being really, really upset with each other. And I think it just took one person to be really brave and forgive the other person to actually start making that situation a lot better. We don't want these kind of grudges and these bad feelings to be something that we hold on to. We want them to be something that we can move past together, perhaps with a friend. So at this point, I want you to maybe think about yourself. Is there perhaps someone that you need to forgive? Perhaps it's someone at home. And speaking of friendship as well, I think this is a really strange time when perhaps there are people in your life that you would normally see really, really lots of, but maybe you haven't seen them for a while now. And maybe you can think about different ways that you might be able to see them. Perhaps you could ask an adult if you could make a phone call to them, or you could arrange some type of video call. As long as you have adult permission and they're there supervising you, that could be something that you could do to see other people within your life. That could maybe make you feel a little bit better as well. Okay, I really, really hope that you have a lovely day. Be careful if you are going outside into that cold, cold air and area. And I will see you a little bit later. Bye.